Hollie's Hotspurs, welcome back. Talking Tottenham every week, no better place to be sat. If it's a win, lose, draw, we'll be here for a chat. Best believe we tackle topics like Romero in the back. Young Min Son, what can go wrong when he's on form? It's a dream come true, so sit back, relax and vibe with us. Special guests every time here to discuss. Bring your passion, come along for the ride, and don't forget to subscribe, coys.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Hollie's Hotspurs Live, where tonight we've switched out with a therapy session because somehow we lost to Palace at the weekend 1-0. But it's all good because with me tonight to do so, I am joined by three fabulous guests to try and make the pain a little bit easier. So first of all, I'm joined by Jay. Jay, it's lovely to have you on again this week.
I know. What a difference 7 days makes. Talking about a win last week and now talking about a loss. People moan about waiting for GP appointments, but Dr. Tottenham never disappoints. So, glad to provide some points for Palace.
Yeah, no, it's a tough one to kind of digest, but I'm sure we'll get into it a bit later. I'm also joined by Harry as well. Harry, it's great to have you on the channel again. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you very much for having me on. Shame it wasn't in better circumstances, but that's good old Spurs. But we have a game Wednesday, then again at the weekend. That's a positive, I suppose, with a busy period as we come into Christmas and with Europe as well. So we can quickly forget the result that happened before. Obviously, not ignore the bad things, but try and learn and go again for Wednesday.
Indeed, it is a very quick turnaround at the minute, keeping us very busy. And we're also joined by Billy as well. Billy, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, not too bad. I've already had my half-timer in my Tottenham on day one, but, it is what it is. It's pitch black outside at 7 o'clock, and that's how everyone's feeling inside as well, I think. So nothing like Tottenham to get the holiday off to a good start.
Indeed, it's always the bloody way, and it's so frustrating. But it'd be good to dissect it all with you guys tonight. Obviously, as we all know, Hollie's Hotspurs Live is sponsored by the Tabletop. You can find everything about them in the description below, so go check them out to maybe raise your spirits a little bit, to find some new board games or some cards to get you better in a better mood and spirit, shall we say. But we're going to kick things off because obviously we want to get this over and done with because it wasn't a great game, was it, Jay? I mean, what was your overall thoughts, obviously, on the game itself?
I think that the hype around the game at the beginning kind of set us up. We were all so excited after Mikey's performance on Thursday for him to get a start. I don't think it was the wrong decision. I just think I maybe would have preferred for it to be at home. Go to Selhurst Park is not a nice place to go. I know we've been all right there in the past, but that's a particularly difficult away day, especially for a young player like that. So, the excitement very quickly wore off when Munoz and Chalobah were keeping him reasonably quiet. And Palace are always a very difficult team to play against at home. So I was feeling excited, but I think the signs were there early on that it was going to be a frustrating day.
It was very short-lived. So I must say, I think it was like watching paint dry at times. But Harry, how did you kind of find the game yourself? Oh, I can't hear you, H.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
beginner's error, if you like. No, really, really frustrating. I've got to choose my words carefully here. I think it was we got it wrong, and there was games last season where we just weren't in the game at all. And it sounds really strange to say against Crystal Palace, but we weren't really in the game at all. And if I'm being honest with you, it should have been more than 1-0. We did, Ange alluded to it after the game. Vicario did as well. It was a lack of fight. It's like we were not there, non-existent. And games that remind me of last year are like Fulham away. I was there in person, my first away day, where we've just never really in the game. It felt a bit like a relaxed training session, a stroll in the park, if you like, obviously in the wrong way in this case, like Newcastle way as well at times last season. So, no, it was really disappointing. I think the result's bad, and I think it would have been frustrated beforehand, but it's even worse that we haven't really made a fight of it, haven't gone, do you know what, on another day we could have got a point, or there's positive signs that, if we play that way continuously, we can get results. So, no, it was a real shame, Hollie, and I hope it is just a blip because that was an opportunity. Villa, Brighton, Newcastle, all before us dropping points. So it was, missed opportunity to really close that gap on the top 4 teams.
I think that's the biggest theme with Spurs, isn't it? We always have a missed opportunity. When the fixtures kind of go away, it's all right. Spurs will be fine. No, it always turns a bit sour. But Billy, how did you find the game as well? Is it kind of what the guys have said, just frustrating one?
Yeah, and it reminded me under the Pochettino era. There was times under the Poch era where Even when we were really good, there were certain games where you could tell after about 1 minute that we're not going to win this game. And it was like that in this game. You could tell straight away something was wrong. I don't think we won a single duel or battle or anything within the first 15 minutes of the game. You could just tell straight away it was off. The vibes were off. Everything was off. The passing was shocking from like minute one, pretty much. And I just had I went into this game feeling that it's a great opportunity to win. Palace on 2 points, no wins all season. And it looked like the other way around. It looked like we were the team that had 2 points. And it was really, really. And to be honest, the disappointing thing is for me, that's the first time that's happened this season. Every game this season, if you obviously you have the Brighton game, but the first half we were excellent. This is the first game of the season where we're not turned up, and it's really disappointing. I thought that was behind us.
No, you're right, and I think that's the thing. I think the amount of misplaced passes was driving me nuts. Obviously, me and Jay watch football together sometimes, but I tend to get a bit aggravated. I was getting quite aggravated yesterday with the amount of misplaced passes. But Jay, I want to kind of go back to the point that you made right at the start of the show about Mikey Moore, because I think we had this discussion later or after the game kind of finished, in the sense that I know you alluded to it, that Mikey Moore probably should have started maybe at home. I think that's quite a good shout. What was your kind of explanation behind that sort of thing?
Well, it's just for me, obviously, about managing expectations and going on an away day to a team that can potentially be a banana skin. If you look at what Palace have done to City and Liverpool in the past, they can throw that shock result in. I'm not saying us losing to Palace is a shock result, but it's definitely not the one the bookies would have had. I just think having him at home, having the fans behind him, having that confidence every time he would get the ball at home, he would get the crowd behind him. They'd be cheering, they'd be encouraging him. Every time he would get the ball at Palace, you could very well imagine he'd be hearing God knows what from the sidelines and putting him off. So I just thought it probably wasn't the best environment to put him into. Maybe a quieter away day like City maybe would have been a better debut for him to play in. But it's just I just didn't think that was the right environment. I don't think it was the wrong decision. I think I understand the decision, and I think we all would have preferred Mikey Moore over the alternative. But it just wasn't the right time.
No, I think you're right, because obviously I think when Ange said in the week before this kind of this game happened in the press conference, Harry, he kind of alluded to the fact that Mike Moore was potentially going to start this game, and I was excited then, let alone when I saw the kind of team sheet. Are you kind of with Jay, maybe it was the wrong kind of time, or you kind of like, I didn't want to see Werner start this game, sadly?
No, I'm with Jay in the sense that big fan of Mikey Moore, but it probably wasn't the right game to start in him. You played the full game, 90 plus minutes on Thursday against AZ Alkmaar. I don't think it was right to kind of chuck him in again. That kind of London derby away from home, as Jay says, it's a difficult place. The opposition need their first win of the year. I think it would have been a lot easier to do that wait to Ipswich. I mean, totally honest with you, I think that was a good opportunity where you go, there's not a lot can go wrong. Ipswich vulnerable defensively. And that's a good opportunity for him to gain confidence. I don't think it was right up against what I call an aggressive Crystal Palace team, especially with defensively. So I don't think it was right. Obviously, it's easy to say now. We're all excited when we saw the team, because I don't think it was expected. We know that Ange stuck by Werner a lot. I thought that's what he would do, but in this case, he didn't. And I don't think there's the reason that we've lost this game. I think we've already spoken about it. We've lost every duel. We were really bad, but I think there were some bad decisions in there with the team that were selected.
No, perfect. I think that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of us were kind of getting a bit annoyed, Billy, that we kept seeing that name Werner on the start sheet. And I think we were all excited for Mike. It was just, again, was it wrong time, wrong kind of place? What how do you kind of see it? Is it the same kind of sense, or did you see in elements in that game him do the best that he can in that kind of situation?
Yeah, I think it was just unlucky from everyone concerned, really. Like, Ange had to do it because there's no way that Werner could start. Like, there would have been, like, after what happened in the Europa League game, there's just simply no way that Werner could have started. And I think we got really unlucky with the Odebear not being fit, because I think Odebear would have been the obvious choice. And then you could have bring more on at 60 or 70 minutes. But to lose Odebear and Son, and then Werner just simply can't start at the moment due to his confidence issues, it's just really unlucky. And I think every single fan was buzzing before the game for Mikey Moore to start. and it just is what it is. And I think he's going to get plenty more opportunities this season. But I think we really missed our captain, and we will continue to miss our captain when he's injured, because there was no leadership there against Palace at all. And it was, quite frankly, shocking in that department.
No, I think you made a great point. I think that's the thing. Obviously, we were all worried when Sonny was a little bit injured, and obviously the game that he kind of came back, he lightened it up. It was back to the old Sonny, and then boom, we got another shock in the system that he wasn't going to be fit for this Palace game. I mean, Jay, does that concern you a little bit that again he's picked up another knock? Do you think we just need to manage him better? I know we were talking about this a little bit last week as well.
Yeah, I think we do need to realise that Sonny's getting on now. It's the same with Harry towards the end. Kane, not Scarf. He's coming towards the end of his career. It looks like he's not a player that can play all the time. I think we alluded to this last week. I think we do need to manage him better. If you look at Chelsea with Cole Palmer, I know they've got a much bigger squad and a squad that can tear the Conference League to shreds, but just, I don't know. I think there needs to be a solution to that. I know Odebert looked good when we watched him, and also Mikey Moore looks good, but they're not concrete solutions to the long-term problem, and I've not seen anything that would allude to that yet. So yeah, I am concerned if Sonny keeps on picking up these knocks, where our goals and confidence is going to come from.
And I think that's the thing, kind of leading on to goals, Harry. Obviously, there's been a little bit of criticism of Solanke in terms of he's not really scoring goals at the minute. But to counter that, how do you kind of find his performances? Obviously, I don't think he got a lot of service against Palace, so it's quite difficult. But for you, is it more to Solanke's game than just scoring goals, or do you think those goals need to hurry up and come?
In an ideal world, of course, the goals do come with it. But I think he's had a really positive start to life at Spurs. I think he generally is getting better game by game. I think, if I'm honest with you, I think West Ham, that was his best performance. His hold-up plays, movement. And if you look back, and even as at the stadium at the time, I noticed it a little bit, but you don't really notice it until you watch it back. And every attack pretty much it starts from him. And I think just having that vocal point, someone to hold the ball up, that Kulusevski used to do on the wing, one of the small positives with his old position. Yeah, Solanke does that. And I think he's really crucial. It doesn't matter how you play, and it suits players like Son, obviously unavailable in this game, Johnson, Werner, whoever it may be, to run in behind. It buys that time to get us up the pitch. And I think when we play these bigger games, we've got coming up, we've got City, Villa, Roma, Galatasaray, you name it, in the next few days and weeks coming up. And games like this will be massive, that focal point to aim for. Sometimes you just got to get it in the box. And this, I think Palace, we could have done with a little bit of height. I know they're good aerially, but I think we lacked that. We just didn't get the ball in the box to Solanke enough. And I think, he didn't get any service. You're spot on, Hollie, against Palace. It's hard to judge him on that. But if I had to, if you ask me, what was kind of the players that I suppose can come out of that game going, do you know what we've done right? It would probably be Moore, who I thought got balls in the box, and Solanke was looking to create. Of course, he could always be better. The goals do need to come, of course. And he needs to be scoring most weeks, but I think Ange will know that his contribution that he requires is more than just scoring goals and getting assists. It's all round game, because you saw it with Johnson. When he actually ended his goal scoring record, he thought it was one of his better performances when he didn't score. Might have been that West Ham game. So it just shows you managers see things different ways, and it's all about the wider game.
No, spot on, Harry. I think you're definitely right. It's the thing. You just want those goals to hurry up and come, but everything else he's doing is working perfectly. But I want to talk, obviously, because he didn't get much service, Billy. For me, we just couldn't attack the counter from Palace. We couldn't get out of our own half at times. And if we did, we passed straight to them. How do you think, obviously, Ange tried to mix it up with the subs, but I don't know what was going through his brain there. How would you have expected Spurs to try and counter that kind of press from Palace?
I don't know, because we haven't had a game like it all season where we've not been able to attack. In every game, we've dominated the possession and done relentless attacking. And then the games that we've lost, the games where we've been hit on the break or something like that, we haven't really had much of the other way around. I thought maybe it's funny because we started with our most attacking midfield and Kulusevski and Maddison playing together, but they were just getting nullified at any opportunity, which has not happened all season. Like Kulusevski's had a brilliant season. Maddison's had a pretty decent couple of games, but they were just not effective at all. So I thought maybe swap in one of the Sark we saw against West Ham at work. But don't know. It was a bad day at the office. Nothing seemed to work, and I think again there weren't many other options on the bench in terms of with no Odegaard. Our only other option was Werner, our only sort of attacking option, Werner or Richarlison. I thought maybe we could have put Richarlison on the left wing, something like that to try. But everything that Ange tried didn't work at all. But it was interesting that our classic attacking midfield of Maddison and Kulusevski playing together was nullified completely.
And I think the thing was as well, Jay, obviously their goal came again from that kind of counter and obviously Mickey slipping. It's just like, I don't know what goes through their brain at times. I mean, at the start of the season, I was stressing, oh no, we're going to pass it out, we're going to get caught. Then I slowly thought, oh, this is all right. And then boom, it hits you again that you can't trust it.
One of my favourite players from last season and going into the start of this year, I would challenge you to watch Spurs' goals back over the last couple of games.
I know what you're going to say.
And tell me where you don't see Pedro Porro in that compilation at some point. My friend Jade said this to me ages ago. Said Pedro Porro is just a glorified, it's a mid Trent Alexander-Arnold, can only go forward, can't defend, and he is starting to prove that now. If you look at the goal, he comes across to needlessly clear the ball, totally misses it. Romero's there. It just seems very drastic. It seems like attacking is his number one primary output. I do think he's a really good player. I just think that bit of his game just needs to be refined, and he just needs to make better decisions. You'll definitely find him on the edge of the box trying to score a screamer, but you might not find him. You'll find him 5 yards behind the person at the back post that's going to tap it in. So, yeah, I think the Mickey slip. Obviously, Mickey is the golden child at the minute, and okay, it's a slip, but yeah, I think the bigger problem is we seem to be conceding goals the same way, ball across the box, and a player tapping it in at the back post seems to be very consistent. And I don't know how that hasn't been identified yet, because I've definitely spotted it.
It's definitely like copy and paste. I think when we were in the pub the other week, obviously when the West Ham goal went in, I was like, oh, here we go again. And it is the kind of the same thing, Harry. It's like, even in that passage of play, there's a point where you see the ball come across Romero, and it's like, you're going to put your body on the line here, or you're going to let it come across you? I think, how do you kind of, like, obviously that goal again was frustrating. How did you kind of feel when it went, obviously, in the back of the net?
I was really frustrated because, and Jay absolutely spot on, I think. It's the same type of goal conceded. And it is an error. You can have good goals scored by opposition. And we've seen some this season. We'll see it again. That happens. And sometimes there's not a lot you can do to mitigate that as the opposition trying to defend. But this is a case that it comes from nothing. Palace weren't looking for the goal. If you ask them, I mean, they wanted the win, don't get me wrong, but I think they would have taken the point more than we would have at the start of the day. There wasn't really a press there or anything. And I think it's poor from Vicario initially into Van der Ven. It's a labour pass. I think if Van der Ven, it's poor, it's sloppy, slips. So it's a comedy of errors. And then Romero and Porro at the back post. I don't think Romero's had an excellent start of the season, but I'm with Jay and all of you that it is Porro in this situation that isn't in the right position. And I think the reality is we have two fullbacks. Well, Porro, he's really good going forward, but isn't all that for me defensively. And Odogi I really like, but I thought we talk about bad passing yesterday. Every time for me anyway, that he ball, he didn't go to a white shirt, and that is a problem. It happens. Obviously, he's a young player. And last year we saw the discipline thing. At the moment I'm noticing it happened a few times against West Ham that first half. When things aren't going our way and mistakes are made, Odogi seems to kind of make mistakes as well, which is a real shame. So really avoidable goal. I don't think Vicario could do much to get out in time. It's a calamity of errors. A really poor goal to concede, and obviously, as you know, after that we didn't show much fight to get back into it. So I think that goal kind of summarised the feel around the club at the moment and how the game went in general.
No, spot on, Harry. And I think as well, Billy, coming to you, I don't know what I can put my finger on. Obviously, the way that we decided to rock up at Selhurst Park. I don't know whether it was complacency, the fact that they were at the bottom of the table, they hadn't won a game yet. What would you kind of put it on? And if that is the case, what do you think Anne should be kind of relaying to those players and be like, look, got to go out there, mate, and get those 3 points?
Yeah, I think it was complacency, and I think there's obviously something in our away form, because our away form is terrible. We have an almost relegation level of relegation form at the moment over the last year or so. And I think just because they had 2 points, whereas on the stream that I was watching, straight away the commentator said, "Well, they have 2 points. They've been in every single game and they've been playing quite well actually, but actually they get the news over line." I don't know. Maybe it's not because I watched them at all this season. I just know that Glasgow have been struggling, and maybe the fact that they've only got 2 points isn't really painting the whole story. And maybe we just didn't really do our homework in that respect. And because last season under Glasgow they were excellent, and I think they won 6 of their last 7 games or something like that. Lost a lead there, but they've still got Adam Morton and people like that. I was expecting Morton to be injured actually, so I was a bit disappointed to see him start, and he had a great game against us, so that was really disappointing. But I think it's a bit of complacency. There's something in us in an away game, but I don't know what it is. For me, there's absolutely no excuse for a top side not to be winning away. It's something to expect. Sunday team for an elite team, which we have aspirations to be. You have to be winning your away games if you want to get anywhere near challenging the big 3. So yeah, it's just really disappointing. But it's just been a consistent thing lately. We're really bad away.
No, spot on. And it's just so frustrating, Jay, because we can't even use the excuse of half the team played on Thursday, can we? Because it was pretty much a fresh kind of side, obviously bar Mikey Moore.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to that management as well of the squad. I think there's some players in that team that need to be rested, and there's some that could probably do both games, and if not, just do 60 and then 75, 90. I thought a player for me that kind of showed that was Madders. He looked lackluster. I think his body language when he went off as well kind of showed that. But yeah, I think managing the squad, and I think now that we have 9 points in the Europa League, sorry, I'm having flashbacks. It probably for me, I think now is the time where I think we need to stop worrying about rotating our whole squad and start getting momentum, and players that are playing well continue to play them, and mix that in with players that are struggling. I still think Timo Werner should play in the Europa League games. I think Timo Werner will probably play against City. I think Ange needs to give Werner the chance to perform until January, and then players like that. But yeah, it just seems like the opportunities are there for players. It's just whether they want to take them or not. So that should be the motivation for people to perform week in, week out.
I think that's the thing, because obviously I know you mentioned Maddison and Harry. For me, it's a bit all over the place with Madders. I don't think, like they always say that cliche thing, he hasn't been his best since he's been injured, or since his injury, should I say. But again, that kind of body language, I don't know whether it was because he kind of came off, he was frustrated with himself, but also the fact that obviously he was brought off again, like he was against West Ham, and Sarr was kind of put on in his place. How do you kind of feel with Madders at the moment?
I don't know, because I just, to be honest with you, thought that he'd come around to some really good form, the form that he had rediscovered before he got injured, and it's taken a while, but he looked really good. But I think if you look at Maddison, his whole career was consistency. Norwich obviously did let him go for Leicester. Leicester offered quite a bit for him. If you look at it back, and the owners at Norwich spoke about it at the time, I only know because I went back and did a little bit of research, and they talked about that about him with consistency. And if you look at Leicester as well, and what Leicester fans are saying, I think he's massive for them, by the way. And then he's the reason they didn't go down, for example, sooner. But he just, the consistency with him, it's never quite been there in his career, week in, week out, and that is a little bit of a worry. Let's be clear. I think the midfield 3 against Palace selected, I think, was wrong. I don't think there was any balance in there, and I to be honest with you, I don't think that midfield 3 can start again this season. I just think it is too attacking minded. There's no balance in there. You've got 2 players in Kulusevski and Maddison doing the same job. You've got Bentancur wanting to do that job as well, wanting to push forward. It just isn't going to work. And I'm not saying put 2 defensive midfielders in there, but I'm saying sometimes away from home there might be things you need to do differently, because I don't think you can play that midfield 3 for example, against Aston Villa, or go to Galatasaray and play that midfield three, I think we'll get eaten alive. I think you need Basuma in there. I think you need Sarr in there to add that balance. I don't think Sarr had an impact. Obviously, we need to come on this game. I think it was a bit late. That midfield three doesn't work at the moment. Kulu, I think, was great, but it's had a great start to the season. Maybe, yeah. And Jay's right. I think, we make so many changes at once. We don't need to rotate the whole squad. We've got a lot of games coming up where rotation is going to be needed. We're not saying make 9-10 changes, little changes every now and then. But again, you could probably question Ange's in-game management in this game to bring Archie Gray into that midfield. I think could have done. So there's a lot of things to solve the problem. But I think a lot of our problems yesterday, of course, the individual error for the goal, but came from the lack of control from that game. We talk about fight. I think that comes under it. And the control happens from your engine room in that midfield. And with that midfield looked, I mean, you said earlier, lackluster. That's how I describe the whole performance. But the midfield, it just isn't right, that balance at the moment, which is a shame because that could be a really good midfield three.
And I think, again, it goes down to that complacency of, it's right, we'll just put our firepower on because it's only Palace. I think as well, we kind of ignored that kind of balance. But obviously, we've spoken a little bit about Ange and obviously his game management and this, that and the other. And as per, when there's kind of like a loss in our fan group, it kind of all goes one way. And it's like, yeah, let's just get him gone. But Billy, for you, I don't feel I can sit through another rebuild myself. So how are you kind of feeling with Ange? Is it just he just needs to tweak a few more things? Are you getting to that point now where this away form can't stay like it is, or we will be asking a lot of different questions?
No, I'm the same as I've always been. I'm nowhere near that level yet where I'm thinking personally, I think anyone thinking they should be sacked is, it's just be careful what you wish for, because we're the same process again, 2 years, 3 years of a waste. I back him fully. I'm not happy with the way things are going completely, but we need to see out a project for once in our lives. Like, we can't keep wetting the bed every time that we have a loss. We won 7 out of 9 games. If we zoom out a little bit, obviously there are some serious concerns with like our away form, with our defensive thing. Overall, we've been a lot better defensively this season. We are still making a couple of mistakes, but I want to stick with a manager, and I love the character of Ange. I love what he's all about. I love attacking football. I want to see it through. I want to actually see a project through, and if it doesn't work, then we change. But chopping a manager halfway through a project it's going to be a complete waste of time. I mean, you see 10 now. Looks like Man United are going to get Amorim. Who would you get? Like, there's no. I can't see anyone that could come in and improve us at the moment that would be any better than Ange. So, it's not a question for me. I never tell people how to support or how to think. But it's not a question for me. I want to see it through.
No, I'm with you, and that's the thing. I feel I'm just getting fed up of. Okay, we tried the winning manager; it didn't kind of work. So let's just kind of stick with Ange and see how it kind of goes. But we've got to turn our attention because Jay, Wednesday we have City. So how are you kind of seeing that one go down? Is it going to be those chops and changes again, or are you hoping it's going to be a bit of consistency?
I'd like to see consistency. I'd like to see a full 11. I know it's the trophy that some people don't recognise, but I definitely do. And teams that say that they don't recognise it when they win it. So I'll recognise it. I think that's the thing. I think it needs to be consistency. I think we need to make a statement. I think I would run the risk of winning the game on Wednesday and playing our full 11, if not just to give some confidence going into the Aston Villa game at the weekend. And mainly because this is a genuine attempt at a cup run. If you take Manchester City out, you're definitely one of the front runners. Knowing us, will probably lose to Colchester or someone in the next round, and it would have been totally irrelevant. But yeah, I think it's a must win. I think rotating the squad and just to go back on your previous point, as many people on this show will know, business is always booming. When we lose a game, there's you'll always see people on Twitter, jumping at the chance to go for Ange. But I think what Billy said is so true. We're 4 points behind. Arguably, people are saying the best Chelsea team we've seen in ages. It's not like we've fallen off a cliff. We're not Man United. I know obviously they're 2 points behind us, but they're having a very different season to us. I just think we just need to stick with it, and we also need to we need to get a base layer and then build from there. And I think getting Europa League is kind of our base layer, then move up to Champions League, and under Ange, I think we can go anywhere. But first of all, let's get a League Cup win, please. Just a trophy.
No, I'm with you. I think we've always said this every year. A trophy is a must have. I mean, for you, Harry, you're on the same sort of vibe. City, bring them on. We always like to call them, obviously, we're a bit of their bogey team. And knowing us, we'll do a shock against Palace and then absolutely turn up and destroy City. So how do you see it going down?
Yeah, anything's possible with Spurs, Hollie. So yeah, wouldn't write that out. I've always said don't bet on Spurs. I don't think that's the worst thing you can do. But no, I'd go all guns blazing in this game. You know, we can ignore it if we like, but it's no major trophy in 16 years, and I don't think that's good enough. I think we have to end it, and no better opportunity than the Carabao Cup already to the round of 16. And you know, spot on, Hollie. Yeah, you get Manchester City out of the way, and all of a sudden the doors really do open. I would be opposed if we prioritise the Europa League, because you win that, you qualify for top four anyway. So in Levy's case, or the club's case, that is two birds with one stone. But obviously, there's more games in the European format, and there's still strong teams in it. People saying that we'd win it, or no, we should win it. Should I say is what it's been said a lot. Well, there's still Man United. I know, obviously they struggled to start the season. They got rid of Ten Hag, but there's still a big team in there, Galatasaray, Roma, who will come up to face both of them in the next few weeks. But I think we have to go really strong for it. And Pep couldn't be clearer. He's going to go with the second team or go with their academy. He doesn't want to waste any bit of energy on the Carabao Cup. Those are his words, not mine. So there's no better opportunity. We've got to go for it. I'd rather go for this than Aston Villa, if I'm honest with you. Top four is great to play in the Champions League, but it's no good if you don't win the trophy. For me, you're in the trophy to win it, not to participate. Originally, yes, to start with, a few years ago, I absolutely get that. But now you've got to be in something to win it. The Carabao Cup is the quickest route to do it. So let's go all for it.
Love it. Let's do it. Billy, are you in the same kind of wavelength? Just put the strongest team out, let's get the job done, move on.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. And I've been banging the same drum all season, which is why the Palace I was over it very quickly, and I've been the same all season. I'm so bored of the league now. I'm so bored of it. I'm so bored of putting your whole energy into this thing and maybe finishing fourth. It does absolutely nothing for me anymore. I'm so bored of that idea that you put your whole energy into the 38 games, and the maximum we're ever going to do is finish in the top four. I don't care about the top four. I'm so beyond it. I've been doing that for the last 8-9 years, and it hasn't got us anywhere. I'm so invested in the Europa League and the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. I just want to win a trophy. And I think if we beat Man City, we've got a good chance. I think we've got an excellent chance to win in the Europa League. And by the way, after, 3 wins, 3 in the Europa League, no one calling for us to be sacked then, were they? And we lose and it's funny because the same fans that are asking Ange's head are the same ones that saying we're desperate to win a trophy. And now we're prioritising the trophies, and now they're calling for his head. I just think sometimes Spurs fans need to get their priorities, So my priority is winning the trophy. That's all I care about. I know Man City played 5 subs on the weekend. They've got no players, so hopefully they're going to play a B team, and hopefully we'll beat them.
Lovely stuff. Fingers crossed. I think you're spot on as well. I think it's just the nature that we lost the Palace that wound a lot of people up. But when you actually take a minute, step back, this is why I never do a show right after the game, because I think I'd lose my head. Got a little day to just kind of get over it. But obviously, straight after City, we move on to Villa. So, Jay, obviously, I think this game's at home, so that makes me feel a little bit better. How do you kind of see that one going down?
Well, I see it bringing us 2 points within Aston Villa, and then all of a sudden, Ange is the greatest manager on planet Earth to 90% of Twitter. I think it's a big game. I think at Villa, obviously they are up there, but they do look a bit shaky. They've drawn 3 of their last 5 Premier League matches. As long as Duran starts, I think I'll be happy. If Duran starts on the bench, I'm absolutely terrified. We love to throw away a result, let alone to the most prolific goal scorer off the bench in just craziness. We've got to win. It's a game we have to win. It's a game as well just to, we're top of the Europa League, they're top of the Champions League. Again, it's just about confidence, and it's just about getting those vibes back. If we're beating a team that have beaten Harry Kane's Bayern Munich, then we should gain some confidence from that. But yeah, it's a must-win in the sense of just to remind everyone that we are heading in the right direction. There are going to be some dodgy results on the way, and not to lose faith so quickly.
Spot on. Not to lose faith. I think that is the key word there. But Harry, again, obviously Villa, home game. Obviously, like Jay kind of said, they're doing well in their European competition. So are we. So how do you kind of judge this one?
You never know with Spurs. A lot could happen this week. We could absolutely thump City. We could fall apart to Manchester City. So much in football in general as well happens so quickly. But no, it's a big game, and it's one, to be honest with you, both games this week we can't afford to lose. I think the uproar, if we go out, and rightly so, go out of the Carabao Cup and make it look like potentially another year without a trophy, won't look good. Obviously, I know we've got the Europa League, but we know it's going to be hard, lots of games. So it won't be good, that's for sure, the feeling Wednesday night. But Sunday's game against Aston Villa, I think as well, if you lose that, you just kind of slowly lose sight in that top four battle. I mean, Jay says there are 4 points with Chelsea. I think we've done well to stay with them that amount, considering how good they've been. But that 4 points turns to 7 quite quickly, and that Villa, that gap increases. All of a sudden, we could be, by next weekend, 13 points off the top of the league. That's quite a lot if you think about it. After 10 games, and if that keeps consistently happening, there's going to be a big gap. And let's be clear here: the long-term goal under Ange will be to close the gap in the best teams of England, and we can't. We're falling away massively if you look at it like that. And I don't think it's all need to panic. I don't think I agree with all three of you that starting a new project is completely wrong. To be honest with you, I'm not sure whether Ange is the right manager to win things or not, but you go for him for now. Starting a new project isn't the right thing. You give him time, as Jay says, bumps in the road. But in this game, I don't think it'll be easy. Fidge around off the bench, as Jay says perfectly. Hopefully, a few injuries for them along the way out. I don't think even got the Europa League before; they got it after. So can't even rely on them to get injuries in that. But no, I'm not sure how it will go, to be honest with you. But my priority is Man City over Aston Villa.
And Billy, I know as well that you said obviously City's the priority, but how are you kind of feeling for the Villa game?
I think it's a pretty good game for us because Aston Villa are not going to low block, and they would play high line. We play high line, so it's going to be a lot of goals either way, both ways. I'm sure, and obviously we probably our best ever away result for Ange was when we beat them at Villa Park last season. They beat us at home, so I have no idea the way it's going to go. Interesting, they got Palace in the cup, and then they got Champions League on Wednesday, so they might have one on the Champions League game, hopefully. Obviously, a couple of days later, because obviously they're right at the top of the Champions League at the moment, which is insane. So I hope that their priorities are elsewhere, to be honest, because I kind of feel like we need a win, just because otherwise the meltdown after is going to be insane. You know what? We never draw any game for any competition. We don't draw anymore. I'll take a nice draw. Everyone get about their day. And I just on to the Galatasaray.
Just to add on to that, if we beat Villa at the weekend, we're 2 points away from title challenging Arsenal, who could potentially lose to Newcastle.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's absolutely crazy. We're not. It's mental.
Sack him.
No, it is crazy, and I do need to remember sometimes Twitter isn't the best place for your source of knowledge.
And it's not reflective of the match-going fans either. I think fans are frustrated, rightly so, but match-going fans are behind Ange still.
No, 100%. But it's going to be fun and games over the next week. But we're going to go around the table, say our goodbyes. So, Jay, thanks again for joining me tonight. Where can everybody find you doing your thing?
Content-wise, you can find me at JJ Season when I can be bothered to stream. I'm pretty lax at the minute, just playing FIFA and stuff. And then if you want to hear my horrendous footballing takes, you can find me at JJJohnson26 on Twitter.
Lovely stuff. Although not slandering Ange, so it's all good.
No, not slandering.
But no, thank you, Jay. And also as well, Harry, thank you again for joining me tonight. Where can everybody find you doing your thing too?
No, thank you very much for having me, Holly. Thank you very much. You can follow me there, Harry Scarf22, but I have my own channel, Scarfy Spurs Talk. We have a weekly Spurs podcast, the Scarfy Spurs Talk podcast, which they joined by Billie T. It will start at 7:45, so in about 3-4 minutes time, as we're going to review somehow that Palace game. We've got a Palace fan on as well. It was a massive mistake, wasn't it? Also, we'll preview Man City. It might touch on Aston Villa as well. So no, it should be a good one. Definitely a therapy session like this. So thank you very much for having me, Holly. It's a pleasure.
No, all good. Thank you, Harry. And Billy as well. Thank you too. Where can everybody find you doing your thing as well?
Yeah, always a pleasure. This Billie T on Twitter, and I'll be on Harry's show. Look forward to coming on this one again in the future, and you guys around, sure.
Amazing. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. And obviously, thank you to everybody else that's in the chat, that's been watching along, putting their comments in. Everybody that's going to rewatch this or listen to it on Spotify, really appreciate it. Like I say, there'll be no Hotspur Huddle on Wednesday, so we play, but we'll be back next Monday to dissect, obviously, the Villa game. Hopefully, it's a win this time. But until next time, come on, you Spurs.